Yo, good morning. Look, because I'm nice, because I'm a kind soul Canadian, I'm gonna use the first egg for you, so no one else can grab it. I'm a kind soul. He'll say I did it, but we know who it was. So we're gonna pin that. 20 minutes. Are you just waiting for an AQP? Anyway, good morning. I'm doing a very low energy stream today. I'm Miley QP. That's pretty fun. Does that work in actual RuneScape? Hold on. Is it still against TOS to AQP? It does still work. Not that this bot cares. Speaking of, hold on. Trying to get him while I'm on it. There we go. Where is he? Where is the botting? No. Oh, number one. But yeah. Fucking... Also, I forgot I have text-to-speech on. I might turn that off, we'll see. Anyway, good morning. It is a chill stream for me today, a little RuneScape grinding, because, as you can probably tell by my voice, it is a little rough. I don't know if it sounds deeper or not, but it feels deeper to me. I was out in the dust and the grime and stuff yesterday, and I also did a lot of talking. Excellent. I also did a lot of talking, and I did a lot of walking, and I'm just tired. But I wanted to stream today because I haven't streamed since, like, last Wednesday or something. Last Tuesday. So yeah. I just had a crazy busy week where, like, technically I could have streamed on Wednesday and Thursday. No, Tuesday and Wednesday, I will admit. Maybe I did stream on Tuesday. I don't remember what day was my last stream. Oh, 7 days ago. So, you got a first 7 days ago. So that was, I guess, last Monday. That was the last time I streamed. Because Tuesday and Wednesday I had work. Although I didn't have work till 10 p.m., so I probably could have streamed in the morning, but I guess I didn't want to. Especially after Tuesday and I was on my Wednesday shift. But either way, Wednesday I had work until 6 a.m. I went to sleep late, obviously. So Thursday... Oh, thanks, Canadian. So Thursday, I didn't stay at home. Or I didn't know. Thursday I woke up late in the day, and then I had plans already in that day, so I did those. Then Friday, I was basically prepping for the weekend, so I spent the whole day, like, no, that's wrong. Sorry, I remember now. I remember what was happening. I remember the whole thing. I just got a brain blast. Okay, we're starting over. Monday, I stream. Okay. I spend the rest of Monday evening painting for my Warhammer army. Tuesday, I spend the entire, like, 12 hours I'm awake, or actually I'm awake longer than that. I spend the entire time I'm awake on Tuesday. Actually, no, okay, back up. I spend the entire time I'm awake before work on Tuesday, painting. And then I go to work at, like 10 p.m. or something. Did I win the tourney? Yes and no. I'll explain. When we get to the tourney day, I'll talk about the tourney. We're gonna go through my whole week. So Tuesday, I painted all day until I had work at like 10 p.m. I worked from 9 to 4 or 3 or 5. I forgot. It was sometime in the morning. I just know that I should not have been awake at that point. Then on Wednesday, I do the same thing. I paint all day until I have to leave for work, and that shift did start at 10, and then I got out at 6. So that was that. And then once I woke up on Friday, I was too tired to paint, but I had finished painting because on Friday, the fuck is that noise? What was that song? Oh, it's Minecraft. The end. Okay, I'm just gonna skip that. So I was really tired. But then I already had made plans on Friday to go to the Boysenberry Festival with my partner, which was fun. But we both got so tired of boysenberries that we ate like a million other savory foods to avoid the taste of boysenberries after that. We wanted nothing to do with boysenberries by the end of the Boysenberry Festival. And then, let's see. Saturday then, I had my tournament. So, boysenberries. No, boysenberries. I know you're just goofing, but I'm going to spell them for you because they're fun to spell. They're sort of like a mix between raspberries and blueberries. They're like kind of tart and a little sweet, mostly tart. We were getting all kinds of things there, like boysenberry garlic chicken wings, or French toast with boysenberry cream cheese or whatever. The one that really got us, that made us like decide that boysenberries were no longer a thing we wanted to eat, was the boysenberry elote. And you're Canadian, you might not know what elote is. Elote is basically corn and mayo and some other things all in a sort of like pile. It's a very popular snack food, a food you can get from a man in a cart usually, who goes by in Hispanic neighborhoods. He's the little elote man. He's got a little cart, sometimes he has a little horn or a bell, and he'll make you up some fresh elote. Sometimes it's still on the cob, but usually it can go either way. It can be on the cob or it can be in a little cup. Anyway, so we had the boysenberry elote, and the boysenberry mayo with the boysenberry drizzle on top was too much. At that point, we decided we were done with boysenberries. It was the boysenberry elote that did it. But anyway, so that was Friday. Saturday, the tournament. Saturday was my tournament. So I did not win. However, we played 3 games, 2.5 hours each, because Warhammer's a long game. And I won my last game because we had an uneven number of players. We had 1 player drop out of 12. So we were down to 11 players, which meant that we had someone who had a buy-in, which means every round there's 1 person who sits out and they get a free win off of that 1 round. So technically I did win 1 game because I had a buy-in for the last game. And even though it was the last game and I could have left after that, I stayed because I had a bunch of friends in the tournament and I wanted to like support them. But also I wanted to see how it went and stuff like that. So everyone was like, having a good time. I'm glad I stayed because at the end there was 3 awards. Each person got store credit for these various awards. We had best painted unit, favorite opponent, and you could only choose people you had actually played against. What was the last one? The actual winner of the tournament. And the actual winner got far less store credit. I think half the store credit that the other 2 got. Because they were having this problem with their tournaments where they had people who weren't locals, like who never went to the shop, were just kind of hanging out, who would show up at local tournaments to stomp the competition as like professional players, do everything they can to be like as hard ass about playing as possible when most of the locals are like beer and pretzels players, and would basically use it to win money, because you pay $10 to go in and then the prize money is then spread out amongst the people who win prizes. So they would do it to win money in order to win models and stuff like that. And it was shitty, so they changed it so that the winner still gets prize money, but they don't get that much prize money. Like it's a very small amount, so much that it's almost not worth going. In fact, I think the winner basically just makes their $10 buy-in back. Like it's something like that, where it's like, hey, you win, you get your money back for buying into the tournament. And we had one player who I guess didn't know that, who was the one that showed up with his fucking Eldar army that was like calculated perfectly to win every game, and he was winning every game, and he did win every game, and he won the best general or whatever, and then made like almost no money. But whatever. I don't think the local player, he claimed he was practicing for real competitive, but it was like, I don't know, you're practicing against people who barely know what they're doing, me included, but whatever. I did not play against him, but I could have, and it would have been scary. But my first game, oh no, sorry, I'll get to what I won first. I did win. I just didn't win best general. I won best painted unit for my Land Raider, which I took. Land Raider is a tank, and I had taken a paintbrush. I had a crazy day one day where I discovered I discovered that Colchizian runes, which are the runes that my characters wear on their face as tattoos and on their armor as like script. Colchizian runes is taken from a quote unquote real language. It's called Enochian. It's not really a real language. It's a made up language by some people in like the 70s that is supposedly the language of the angels and the language of magic or whatever. It's a bunch of hokey bullshit. But the point is that that it is translatable, and it's translatable easily to English because they use a lot of English sounds because they're, you know, Americans in the 70s who were like, ooh, let's make the language of the angels or whatever. And so I took the passages of the Book of Lorgar, which is my guys, like the scripture they wear is in lore, the Book of Lorgar. And yes, I know his name is Lorgar. But you can I took the passages that we did have from books and stuff, I translated them into Enochian with an online translator, and then I pulled up that list of things, and I hand-painted the runes on the side of the tank to write out as much of the Book of Lorgar as I could fit on the side of the tank. And it looks crazy. Like, looking at it now, it looks like I lost my mind one day, and I think I might have. Because I spent like 5 hours transcribing the Book of Lorgar on the side of my tank. But it looks so cool. It was so worth it. I claimed I would never do it again. However, the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to like add a panel here and a panel there and slowly fill out the whole tank so the whole thing is just absolutely covered in Book of Lorgar. But we will see about that. It might remove some of its impact if literally the whole tank is covered in script. But it might be cool. I don't know yet. Beyond that, so then Sunday I had Ren Fair, and I was trying out a new thing at Ren Fair. Usually I'm a fool. This time I was guesting out with the Puritans this time, and that was a lot of fun. I got to shame people for various things. I got to be disappointed in everyone. It was a good time. I don't know. I had a lot of fun. It's weird. I had a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm a good Puritan, but I had a lot of fun, if that makes sense. So I'm probably not going to be doing that as a long-term gig, but I did enjoy it, and I will probably dress out with them at least once a year if I can, you know, because I enjoyed it. So yeah, and I will probably, yeah. But that was my week. How was your week? Oh, now we're here. I'm tired and drinking tea and eating little cookies because cookies are the same nutritional value as cereal with milk. Anyway. Or at least American cereal with milk. Just applying for summer jobs and chilling out. Nice. Yeah, I'm really desperately looking for like a new job. I've been really enjoying Disney, which I don't know if you know, I work at Disneyland. I work for Disney. But even if you went to Disney, you would never see me because I am hidden. But it's a very sparse job. I only work like this upcoming summer. I'm basically have a guaranteed job 1 day a week, which is not a lot, and I don't get paid enough to be only there 1 day a week. So yeah, I'm looking into what's it called? I am looking into other jobs. I'm thinking about doing something real fucking simple. Because I would like an office job of some kind that's just like, hey, do spreadsheets for us, because I have a lot of weird experience with spreadsheets at this point. But I also would like to find potentially a job I can just yes sir, follow orders and go do something that's like a little physical but not too physical. Like, I don't want to be a warehouse worker, but I don't want to be like at the, I don't know. There's something I'm trying to figure out what I want at the moment. I want a job that can support me while I do my writing. That I can come home in the evenings and write and still be making money and not have to like rely on when this sells or whatever. Like, not that shit. I'm not gonna do that shit. So I want something consistent that I can take places. And I am contemplating, at least for now, I'm contemplating applying to the USPS and seeing if they'll take me for. I could just be a mailman, you know. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about like what things, what random like stable either state or government jobs, probably state jobs at this point, I could get and just hang on to those, you know. But yeah, I was looking at it, thinking about it. You don't have to be just a driver for the USPS. There are other things that exist, but this is the first thing one thinks of, you know? But I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, that must be a really stable job. There's always mail, even if it's no one's really using it. It's still there for like packages and stuff. Wait, stop it, Bilbo. Man, it's harassing. What kind of summer jobs are you planning for? Anything cool? Anything you're like particularly hopeful about? Hopefully I can work at Best Buy. Yeah. It is nice. I don't know if you've worked at a like, I don't know if you've like worked retail before or not, or if you've worked anything that like I'm assuming you want to work at Best Buy because like you know tech and you want to be able to like it's something you can confidently talk about. Because I totally understand that. I worked at GameStop briefly for the same reason. I worked at Staples for a few months. It was very nice. Gotcha. Yeah, I worked at GameStop pretty briefly, and it was very nice being able to actually know things about the subject matter. And like when people were asking about like, oh, when's this game coming out? I usually already knew, or I knew how to look it up very quickly. Or if they would ask for recommendations, I could give them to them. Like I really enjoyed having a job where I had some expertise. So you might enjoy that. Though I will say there was a layer of like frustration I would have where people would not accept that I had the expertise. I'd be like, you know, someone would say, hey, I want this game, or I want a game like this. And I go, oh, you know what? I know exactly the game you're thinking of. Here's one that you can use. It's just like exactly how you're asking. And they would always go, no, that's not what I want. It's like, brother, you don't know what you want. That's why you came in and asked me what. Okay, sure. Like, it's frustrating when they do not trust the fact that you are in this job because you like it, because you have the expertise for it. Right, do you have a story? What's your story? Yeah. And they'll be like, no. You're just a lowly retail worker. I know better than you. It's like, my brother was buying a Wii U and asked the chick what game is good on it. Uh-oh. You said Bayonetta, and he got it. Yeah. She's right. I'm curious to see where this goes, because so far I agree with her. No offense, Canadian. You're kind of dumb. Okay, there we go. He became undumb at the end. No, yeah, I would have recommended Bayonetta. Actually, I would have been a little more research. I would have asked your brother questions, like, what kind of games do you normally play? What kind of things you're interested in? Do you like action games? Do you like, whatever? Because my first thought was either Bayonetta or Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter had come to the Wii U when the Wii U was out. And it was like a lot of people's favorite Monster Hunter and their first Monster Hunter. It was like one of the first really popular ones. And it was my first Monster Hunter too. It was on the Wii U, and it was really good. So I would have gone either way: Bayonetta, Monster Hunter, or shoot. What else was out during that time period? When did it come out? Okay, so 2009. So Bayonetta's out already. Let's see. Splatoon was on Wii U at that point. I forgot about that. When did Smash Bros. U come out? If Smash Bros. Was out at that time, I probably would have said Smash Bros. Too. I think this was 2014. Okay. So yeah, definitely would have said Smash Bros. At that point. Like that late in the game. 2014 is really close to the Switch launch, isn't it? No, 2017. Okay. I thought the Switch was 2014. It's 2017. We got Smash, Bayonetta, and Mario 3D World. Hell yeah. Okay. I mean, those are all good choices. You were not steered wrong. It's interesting that, like, you think about, like, 2014, whatever, Wii U games. You're like, what's good on the Wii U? And there's like a finite list. It's like, here's the 10, 20, 30 games or whatever that were really good that people loved. And nowadays, for, like, let's say PC gaming, it's like, oh, what games were good in 2025? It's like, my brother in Christ, there's so many indie games that are, like, master tier level that I cannot begin to list to you what games are good. You're going to have to give me a genre. Like, we have so many choices now for games. We have, like, 15, 20, 30 games coming out fucking for just AAA, like, a year, right? Of big ones, really big ones. And then we got a bunch of side games, and then a bunch of AA games that are getting real popular, and so on and so forth. There's so many games, and a bunch of them are free too, so it's not even like, oh, we have to spend money on all these. They're just like, oh, Marvel Rivals came out, that's free, like, go play it. Oh, you just reminded me, I was gonna play Bergie's Cozy Kitchen while we did this. I got so distracted. Or like, random early access stuff that's not out yet, but it's playable, like RuneScape Dragon Wilds or whatever. Like, there's just so much shit coming and going that it's like, it's hard to. You really gotta have like a someone to curate it for you at this point, because I struggle without it. All right, let me turn on Bergie's once we get on a. Oh, this one's gonna go for a bit. Okay. Okay, kitchen's good. We're good. Okay. But yeah, it was a good time. It's been an interesting couple of years seeing that just the flood of games that are because of Steam and social media and stuff being much more, not much more used, but there's a lot of viral marketing, especially with TikTok. TikTok is so big, like things get millions of views overnight. We'll get back to the game conversation in a second, but last night, for example, or for 2 nights ago, for example, on Saturday, the Puritans, the group that I was guesting with yesterday, they were doing one of their gigs called Wall of Shame, where they see a person and they walk as a unit, and they just see a person and they just call out something they're wearing, call out something they're doing. They're like, without the sneeze, you're wearing open-toed shoes. And after they say the thing, everyone in the group goes, shame, and points at the person. And they say it in unison, and they keep moving. And this is a bit that people really like, if they think it's funny. And someone took a TikTok of the very last seconds of one of my friends who's actually in my D&D games, in the Puritans. He's like dead center. And he goes, trying to get your friend shamed? And everyone, it's the shame. And as it is shamed, the woman, filming it, screams and runs away. And that got, blew up. So, fucking, literally blew up overnight. in a way that I did not think was possible overnight. With like 9 billion views and like, you know, several million likes or whatever, in the 8 hours of sleep time, so that when we woke up in the morning, my buddy had gotten a whole bunch of texts about people like seeing him on TikTok, and all day on Sunday, everyone who came to the Ren Fair, the people were just like yelling shame at us, like, because they had all seen the TikTok and had come in that day, and it was wild. And so TikTok and things like that, you know, Instagram Reels and whatever, have humongous reach if they get any sort of traction at all. Like, it's much more than any like viral YouTube thing. Viral YouTube was a slow burn; it would like be viral for months. TikTok stuff was like, here it is, it's here for today, and it's gone. Yeah, it spread like crazy. It was really weird, but that's just kind of how TikTok works. Where it's like, here's your one viral thing. It's gonna be here for one day, maybe two if you're lucky, and then it's gone and you'll never see it again. And so it's like less of a slow burn as YouTube, and so there's a lot of like marketing for games that's happening where someone will post the progress of their game and that progress goes viral, and suddenly they have a whole audience of people ready to play their game, ready to wishlist it, and they were just a single indie developer or something, you know. And so it's really changed the landscape of what games are known, like what games are talked about. Or like, for example, Claire 33 Obscure or whatever. I haven't played it yet, but I've downloaded it from Game Pass. And I never would have downloaded it off of Game Pass. It's just yet another JRPG I'm not going to finish, but I still want to try it. And I never would have downloaded it had I not seen a post on Reddit that was like, hey, this game just got 1 million purchases. And it's like a random indie game. And I never heard about it. And so I jumped on board to go like download it to see what was up. Haven't played it yet, but people are really liking it. And that kind of stuff would never have flown, you know, even a decade ago. Like, first they wouldn't have gotten the 1 million purchases from whatever like thing they were doing, probably TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or something, like some viral marketing. And then they got to the 1 million, and then they someone posted about the 1 million on Reddit, which added even more marketing to that. Oh, this is a good game. Like, things can snowball really quickly for indie developers that can keep them on par sometimes with some of the really big boys that have like professional marketing teams and stuff that spread ads. I don't know. But it's a double-edged sword for the consumer. Sorry, I'm chomping on my last cookie. Because, well, yes, the consumer gets access to more games, and they'll get to see ideas and things that they never would have run into in the first place. They have this problem of, now the idea of, I have money to buy, you know, like let's say someone's saving up money, especially with games starting to cost $80 now. When you're saving up money to buy a game, like a AAA game, and they only have so much money to spend, especially if you're a kid, right? You only have so much money to spend. Do you spend it on the massive AAA project that has a chance to be shit, because just because it's AAA doesn't mean it's good? Or do you spend it on the indie game that you have heard from word of mouth is good, and the only reason you've heard about it is because it is good? You know, it's obvious. You spend it on the indie game. Well, now the indie game doesn't cost $80. It costs like $30 or whatever. And now you have $50 more to spend on more indie games. And now you start building up a pile of games that you can never finish, but you or you have extra $50 for something else, you know? So it sounds really good, but then that one indie game isn't just one indie game. It's 15 different indie games that all people have said they're good. So you went from having to buy one AAA game that has come out during this time, this brand new game, that was $80, and you didn't have to make a choice. You just went, oh, do I want to buy this or not? And the choice was, yeah, sure, I'll try it. Or, which of these 15 really good indie games do you want to buy? You can only buy like 2. You know they're all really good. And you will not have time to, even if you could buy all 15, we would not have time to play it. A system for discovering games relies heavily on Steam reviews, though. Oh, yeah? I was thinking about setting myself up as a Steam review curator or whatever, but I don't play enough different games, I feel like, to do that. Although I do have a lot of Steam reviews, because there was a period of time where I was reviewing every game in my library, and that was when I only had like 300 games in my library. Now I have like literally 1 to 2,000. I forgot which one it was. I think it's 2,000 games in the library. So I'm not reviewing those anytime soon. because I don't want to just start a game for 5 minutes and review it. I want to like play at least an hour. That was always my point, was like play at least an hour. Anyway, you have a system for discovering games. What's your system? Oh, is it just like looking at Steam reviews? I'm gonna eat my cookie while you type. Oh. Also, I think I might, sorry, completely unrelated. Wait, 4 different sites: Steam, Steam BD, Top 250, and OpenCritic. Okay. Did you just like look at all 4 at the same time, or? I'm trying to find Soup's Discord, because I realized I kind of want to submit this as a strange moneymaker. The thing I'm doing right now. It's not fast. It wouldn't be good, but I'm making money while I do it, so it's something. For Steam, I sort by recent games that have 90% positive rating by at least 100 people. Okay. Strange moneymaker, try Urium Shades. See, I'm not trying to make money. I'm just happen to be making money while I train agility, which has been nice. Oh, I should put my agility thing up. I'm trying to get to 70 agility. That was my next thing. To be a sort of highest rating given a highest rating in a given year. Yeah. But basically, I'm making. You can buy these colossal worm teleport scrolls, and my thing says they're 40k each. They are not. They are 43k each right now in the GE. And they're 60 termites. And I did the math. If I had 400 termites, which I usually do when I buy them, I can buy 10 of these scrolls. 10 of these scrolls at 43k, their current price, gets me 430k per 10 scrolls. I could also use the termites to buy Emily's crystals, but those would be a box of 100 for 100 termites, which works out to about 400k exactly if I had 400 termites, kind of it. So it's actually more money than Emily's crystals to get the colossal worm teleport scrolls at the moment. And I would sell them now, but I want to use them to teleport back, so I guess I could sell 19 of them and then use one to come back. I don't know. I'm gonna wait to put them in. If the price drops significantly soon, I will rush off and go do it. If it goes back down to 40, but at the moment, I checked this today on the wiki. They're at 43. So it's a nice little moneymaker while I do other stuff, and I'm getting all these blessed bone shards, which are gonna be great for prayer because my prayer is dog water. It's exactly 49, which is, I guess, better than you need for protect from melee, but it's still. I would like more prayer points so I can do my prayers longer. Thank you. What's my actual checklist? I don't think prayer's on that list, so the bone shards are probably gonna go in the garbage for now. Here it is: 70 agility, 70 construction. Well, Bergie is just hello. 70 farming, 70 herb lore, 70 wood cutting. So we are currently at the one we are closest at right now is agility, obviously at 67, and this is probably not the best course for it. But getting the blessed bone shards and the termites is kind of keeping me here. Plus, it's a little more AFK than other agility courses, which is nice. It is less XP, though. I think. Or maybe it's the same XP. But it's AFK, and it's a little bit longer. So I can sit here and just let my little guy go for a bit. And OpenCritic is just by the highest rating. It's like Metacritic, but only for critics. Only for critics? Or, only for, Okay, so you're avoiding the... I see. You're avoiding the populace, the regular people. Let's see. I do want to get void armor from pest control at some point. I'm not there yet. Let's see, 70 agility, we're working on it. 70 construction, 39 construction. So, I'm going to put my current levels here just so I remember what's going on. The farming right now is at 58, so, and herblore is at 27. And woodcutting is at 54. Can you tell which skill I like the least? I will probably end up just buying my herblore level. Seeing what I have in my bank, spending that on XP, and then buying it. Or doing... Isn't there like an herblore minigame where you get like permanent herblore upgrades or something that like help you? What's that? What is that? Hold on. That might have just... Mastering Mixology. If there's a minigame, I might actually like this again. Let's see. Which is sky... Or out of order potions. Let's see. Requires level 60 herblore. Okay, so I'm going to be buying my way to 60. What would I need for that? It's called Mixology. Thank you. Oh, you need 60 herblore. Wow, if I just read chat, I would know that, but I'm going to go to the wiki. Or just do quests. What quests give herblore experience? Are there that many? Quests by XP. Let's look. Wait, is that the right wiki? I forget which wiki is the right... No, yes, it's this one. Okay. I got it. Edgar's Ruse, making friends with my arm. Herblore. Ready to control, obviously. Jungle Potion. Could do Jungle Potion. Also not that much, though. Let's go at Experience Reward and see what... Okay, so at 31, I can do Edgar's Ruse. Okay, good point, good point, good point. I still would need my farming up, my thieving up. No, my thieving's good. My farming is good. Why does it say I'm not? Wait, hold on. Who are you? Whose stats are you checking for this? Ah, wrong character. It was still on Timeline Tim. Okay, we go back. Timeline Tim was a character I was making a little YouTube video for. I never finished. That was basically the idea was that I would do a quest in OSRS and then do its equivalent in RS3 and see what the differences are. Because they have changed a bunch of the basic quests in RS3 and other things like that. Yeah, I always confuse those two. So, Song of the Elves, obviously. Grim Tales is at 52. It gives a decent chunk. It gives basically as much as fucking Edgar's Ruse at 31. My Arm's Big Adventure. You need to do Edgar's Ruse first. Okay, we'll do those together. Alright, hold on. I'm writing this down. We're writing this down. Edgar and my arm. Do those together. That should give us some what, how much XP? It'll be like... Oh wait, I put that on the right... Did I put that under agility? Where did I put that? I did. Oh, hello. Yeah, I already figured it out. Yeah, so, and I can also do Shades of Morton. I can do Zogre Flesh Eaters. And I can do Heroes Quest. Oh, well, I can't do Heroes Quest. I can't do Heroes Quest. I have to find a fucking person to help me with Heroes Quest. Or go to the... I don't want to go to the fucking stupid... like, I need a help. Friends chat. And that's what it's meant for, is for people like me who play mostly solo. But, man, it's frustrating. Why is it even in the game? Stop making me talk to people. I don't want to talk to people. I want to play this on my own. I don't like the friend chat. Leave me alone. It's weird. I don't like it. Social interaction in MMO. This game is not an MMO. I'm sorry to I mean, it is. Yes, it is genre-wise and technically. Yes, it is. The way it is played does not foster any sort of MMO interaction at all. Like, no, the raids do require friends, but they require friends. Like, I'm not going to go into a raid with a rando that I can't talk to on Discord or something, you know? And I don't want to talk to a rando on Discord. Like, that's not an interaction barrier I want to break. So, if I'm going to do a raid, I'm going to do it with people that I know and already talk to on, like, Discord or something, and then take them into the raid with me. Roll 416. Yeah, I'm not, no. No. Not for RuneScape. I don't play RuneScape for the combat. If I want to play a game with good combat, I play like WoW or something. I don't play RuneScape for that. RuneScape I play to click buttons and see number go up. Yes, that's true. That's true. But one activity that okay, you have listed one activity. One that requires social interaction that isn't a quest. Isn't one of the 2 quests that also require social interaction. So it is an MMO for a very small portion of players who do raids, because the people that do raids are not the majority of the player base. Even if you take all the bots out, the majority of the player base don't touch raids at all. Most of them will just play, make money, and then buy the shit from raids. Like, they do not step foot into high-end PVM. So it is only an MMO for those people. And even then, only those people who are willing to play that game, that kind of gameplay, with strangers. So it's just because it is an MMO for some folks, I feel like it has to be an MMO for the majority of everyone. It is still, I am playing alongside this guy being a bot, but still, it could be a person in theory, right? And there is something to playing alongside them and maybe chatting with them or whatever as you go. But RuneScape is not the game for that for me. If I want to have fun interaction with people, I choose literally any other MMO. The same way that Destiny is not that game for me. Destiny is very much, even Destiny even has more group content where there are more raids. Oh, they don't do the raids. I hate them. Or more fucking, because trying to wrangle cast. People are so stupid, and the Destiny raids require so much of you, and people just cannot figure it out. Anyway, that's my own separate rant. But like, Final Fantasy 14 and WoW and things like that and Destiny all have more group content than RuneScape. And it's I don't know. It's like I still don't consider some of those MMOs. I don't consider Destiny an MMO because you only see players in the open world, like, for different reasons, but still. I'm very strict on what my definition is. RuneScape is one of those few games where you can type and not lose XP. That's true. However, I will point out that other games don't have a problem with efficiency that means that typing would... If you typed in another game, no one would even consider the idea you are, quote-unquote, losing XP. Also, on a completely other side note, most of those games require you to be at endgame before you can do any of the cool stuff. Like, imagine if you had to max and do every quest before you were allowed to do raids, right? Like, that's how the other games treat it, although it's, of course, obviously maxing isn't the same journey as them. RuneScape is a journey game with some endgame stuff. Other games are endgame games where there is no, like, the journey is literally pushed through, where the point is to be max level, and then you do the high-end content together as max level characters. And then what you're pushing, the part that you're actually, like, progressing in is your gear and not your level. So there is no XP to be losing, kind of thing. If you are gaining XP, then you're having a little journey. There is a little journey, but it's not like the goal. It's just different games. And MMOs in general, that's the way they're structured. There are very few MMOs that are structured like RuneScape, where the journey is the game. I don't know. Not anymore, at least. Gosh, that was a rant and a half. The point is though, back to Heroes Quest. It's annoying to me that there is 1 or 2 quests, and they're related, that you need a friend for. If it was like, hey, every other quest you might need another person, cool. If that's how the game structure is, that's how the game structure is. I don't like being blindsided by a random quest that, like, you know what this annoys me the most? Let me explain. I was going on a quest fucking spree. I was doing every quest I could. I was having a great fucking time. I was just blasting through them. I got to Heroes Quest. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I have all the requirements. It's easy. It's like, what's the requirements? Like 53 cooking, 53 fishing, 50 mining. I have all that shit. Let's go. Let's do Heroes Quest. I haven't done it yet. And I get most of the way through Heroes Quest, because nowhere on the quest guide anywhere does it say, hey, you might need a friend for this. And I get to the point where I need a friend, and I'm trying to figure out the instructions, and even in the instructions too, it says like, hey, if you're solo, you can do this. And whatever they said that you could do, I couldn't do for whatever reason. I was like, no, it's not working for me. And so it was like, I suddenly came across a roadblock in the middle of my questing spree that was like, hey, you need a friend. And it was just like, fucking, why didn't you tell me that? Why was there no information about that the whole time? I got halfway into this quest, and I don't even know what I need anymore for the items. I don't even know where I was at, what I was doing, and having to go back to do it again really just pisses me off. I'm just like, I don't want to fucking touch that shit. It puts such a bad taste in my mouth. I know I need to do it, but I just made me so upset. You remember if you're Black Armor Phoenix? I have no idea. Really don't know. I don't know if there's an easy way to check without leaving this area. But I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm not saying it's rational. In no way am I saying, hey, this is how people should react to this. I am saying that I, personally, I got really annoyed that I was in the middle of doing something and I got stopped, and now I'm gonna have to go back, find a fucking random on the quest friends thing or whatever, go do the 5-second interaction where I trade them a thing through like a hole in the wall or something, and then never speak to that person again. It is a pointless waste of time. That's what bugs me about it, I think, the most, is that it has wasted my time. It's just fucking, ugh. And you don't even get anything good out of Hero's Quest. All Hero's Quest is a roadblock to do the quests that actually give you good stuff. It's just one more rung in the ladder, and there's this random fucking shit in it. And it's just angry. Angie. They didn't give that much Herblore XP. It's 1,000 Herblore XP. That wouldn't even level me up. Okay, it would level me up because I'm close to leveling, but still, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And you're totally right. I am overblowing it. Access to Heroes Guild is big for Iron Man. That's fair. Why? How can Iron Man... Hold on. What the fuck? How did Iron Man do that quest? Like, how did Iron Man, like, even... Do they have to, like, trade a thing? Charging glories, that's fair. But, like, don't they have to fucking... Okay. It's one random quest. And it's so weird to me. And they just... I know it's because it's old, but I'm surprised they haven't, like, given you a way to do it solo yet. Whatever. Officially on the wiki, it says there was a way. I'm gonna look into this again. There was a thing on the wiki when I was doing this quest. It was like, hey, yeah, the miscellaneous key. That's where I'm fucking at. It's like, hey, you can do this solo. And they could not figure out how that worked. Oh, Lord. Okay. I think I'm Black Arm. Because it's talking about the side key here. No, wait. I'm not Black Arm. I think I'm Phoenix then. Because wait, do I have a miscellaneous key? I don't remember. Legitimately, I don't remember. There was a thing. It was the quick guide that was telling me about something fucking related to being solo. It might have just been fucking gaslighting me. Joining the official Jagex clan chat channel, OSRS CSOA. See, here's the other thing. Fucking, you have to, like, Jagex knows it's a problem. They made a fucking, anyway, please know that players who have already completed Hero's Quest can still help complete the quest. Oh, that's nice. I thought you had to have someone who hadn't done it yet. Well, shit, hold on. I do have friends that... I have been asking my friends who have already done it because I knew they've already done it. I might just harass them. I don't know what fucking gang I am, though. One second. I spelled that wrong. Did I spell that right? Did I spell Phoenix right? I'm looking right now. I did. It just looks so wrong. Look, if I can get a buddy, I will do Heroes Quest and I will not complain. I just, you know, this is hilarious for someone who spends his weekends, like accosting strangers in the street, at the Ren Fair. For whatever reason, I can do it there. But as soon as it's like, hey, or on stream, I'm talking to people I don't know constantly. For some reason, on fucking when I have to go talk to a person on a video game, I'm like, I can't. It's illegal. I'm not allowed. Not gonna do it. Like I'm only just now, after since it came out, I don't know how many months it's been, 2 seasons. I'm just now getting comfortable with using voice chat occasionally on Marvel Rivals, where I will say a thing or reply to a thing, and that is it. That's as far as I go on that. I don't get it. I think maybe it has to do with like a performance mindset, where like at the fair and here I have this like brain about like, oh, I'm in performance mode, and therefore I've removed all social inhibitions in my brain or whatever. I'm just kind of going. But for like, once I'm out of performance mode, I would struggle. Like honestly, if I were to do Heroes Quest, before you do Edgar's Route, maybe you get the easy tier combat reward. Okay. Why? Elaborate. Also, I don't even know if I fucking could do that. What's the fucking combat task? You can't open that. Hold on. I gotta wait till I do my little animation and I'll open it. You might already have it. Probably not. I don't do a lot of combat. Because it requires combat achievements, right? I don't fucking... I would need to fill this out, right? This is what I would need to do. This is what I'm saying about I don't already have it. I don't do a lot of combat. You were underestimating my lack of combat. I mean, I guess I could do barrows. I haven't done 10 barrows yet, I guess. Could do a bunch of Bryophyta if I got the fucking... I just literally haven't done anything. Just 25 points. Okay. I got a bunch of Temperos ones. I was doing a bunch of solo Temperos for a bit, so my fishing is 50 whatever. I probably could kill Scurious at this point. The top bar. I just need 15 overall. Next unlock in 28 points. Total points 10. Temperos and Wintertod. I haven't done any Wintertod yet. That's not true. Apparently I did. I thought I hadn't done any Wintertod yet. That's true. Though the Temperos one, I think the last one was hard. Or was it? I hadn't done it for a reason. Oh, attack Temperos from both sides by loading both cannons on both ships. Yeah, that one was annoying. I guess I could do it. I just have to load one? Or do I have to be firing at the same time? Or do I just have to load 2 cannons? I guess I probably just have to load 2 cannons because they would fire too quickly for you to be able to run to the other side. Unless you like fully loaded it. But then you'd have to fully load the next one. Okay, I could probably do that on like a random game on my own. Just go in for the combat achievement. Alright, I'll look into it. I'll look into doing it. You get 3 daily... Also, the daily reward collections, they're annoying as hell. Sorry, another fucking complaint. I know you don't have to collect them daily, but getting the notification every time I fucking log in of like, you only have battle staves waiting to be collected from Zaf. Leave me alone. Zaf, I don't want your battle staves. I don't want them. I've never wanted them. I don't need them. You know? I don't know if that's a plugin or if that's just the game, but I don't care. And I'm be annoyed if I also got that heads up from fucking Edgar's Ruse or whatever. Oh, that's a fucking plugin, isn't it? Hold on. It is a plugin. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking stupid idiot. I'm made of fucking cheese. I don't know what's wrong with me. That was entirely my fault. Okay. Teleport anytime soon. That's true. That's out of the quest anyways. Okay, cool. Wow, I forgot about this. That this is why this is doing it. I'm gonna turn that off too. We're gonna keep the add-on on in case I ever want to use it, but yeah, holy shit. I can't believe I'm that dumb. Ugh. In the cave. So anyway, Warhammer. It's funny, I was drinking this tea because I talked too much yesterday, and now I'm just like... blah, 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 blah. Fucking Warhammer. Canadian, what do you know about Warhammer? While you're here, I'm gonna hold you down and talk to you about this. But actually, do want to add about the Heroes Quest thing. One last thing, and it's not what you think it is. You have made excellent points, and you have convinced me to go do Heroes Quest. I'm not gonna do it now on stream, but I will. Something about aliens and sci-fi. Ooh, I rub my hands together. Actually, we'll get to that in a second. I will get to that in but a moment. But first, you have convinced me to go do Heroes Quest. You're right. I've been making a fucking giant fucking stink about it. There's no point to making a big stink about it. If my friend doesn't have it, I'll just hop into the friends chat and do it. And you are so right. I want you to know that I'm not going away from this thinking the same way I had been up until now. Anyway, actually, I am going to ask several questions first before I get off on this rant. One, do you want to know? Do you care at all? Because I will not go off on the rant. If you are just going to be bored out of your mind, or just clock out in your brain, listen to me fucking ramble on about fucking aliens and sci-fi and shit. And the answer is no, I will not be offended. I understand. Every person I talk to about this, I always give them the option, like, you have the option to back out right now, because I will go off on a fucking tangent. If you're cool with that, then let's go. But if you're not, don't worry about it. I'll talk about something else. I could listen to your smooth voice talk about the craters of the moon. Ooh, thank you. Ooh, a compliment. Ooh. Alright. Then we're doing it. We're getting in. We're talking about it. Alright, so let me start with the meta history. Warhammer is many things. It's many different universes. It's also... It's mainly like a media property in a way, in the same way that like Marvel is a multimedia property, where it's like Marvel is, there's Marvel Marvel board games, there's Marvel video games, there's Marvel movies, there's Marvel TV shows, stuff like that. Marvel is a media property. It's basically a world that exists, like a fictional world that exists as a thing to pull from for media. Warhammer is exactly the same way. The only difference is there are no Warhammer movies as of yet, and I honestly hope they never make them because they would not be good. I don't think the setting translates well into movies. Potentially, it's too weird and over-encompassing a bunch of things for it to translate into movies. Anyway, so it's a multimedia world like Marvel, where there's a bunch of characters, a bunch of things going on, but just like Marvel, there is also a DC. But for Warhammer, the DC is also Warhammer. So it's like as if Marvel had two different versions, and one Marvel had Batman and Gotham City, and the other Marvel had Spider-Man and New York. Where they had like the one side where it's all a bunch of fake cities, and the one side's a bunch... Anyway, the point is, two very different franchises that have some similarities. Like in both Marvel and DC, there are superheroes, similarity, like that kind of thing. The main Warhammer people talk about when they talk about Warhammer Online and other things is Warhammer 40k, which is the sci-fi property. There is also Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is the fantasy property. They are both Warhammer, but just one is science fiction and one is fantasy. Though I will say, I categorize Warhammer 40k as science fantasy because there are still like orcs and elves and magic and shit. It's just in space. I also count like Star Wars as science fantasy, not sci-fi, but Star Trek is sci-fi. Like there are defining lines, and no one uses the term science fantasy, but like me and a couple other like nerds. But science fantasy is what I would categorize Warhammer 40k as. Same thing like Dune, you know. Anyway, in fact, Warhammer 40k takes a lot of inspiration from Dune, if you know anything about Dune. So let's talk about what is consistent across both Warhammer universes quickly, and then we'll go into 40k because 40k is the one that everyone knows, and it's the one I have the most knowledge about, though I could talk about the fantasy one if you are more interested in fantasy stuff. Anyway, what is the same between both Warhammer? Dune, the Spice movie? Yeah, it's been a book since when did Dune the book come out? Dune came out in 1965. So the Dune book was from the 60s. Warhammer 40k starts in the 80s. Actually, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which is the original Warhammer game, starts in the 80s, and then in like 85 they've introduced the idea of Warhammer's like Space Warhammer, which they call Rogue Trader at the time, and it becomes Warhammer 40k much later. But Rogue Trader is based a lot on Dune, because it's a 20-year-old property at that point, and the people that were making the games and things were people that grew up reading Dune as kids, and therefore, when they become adults and make a game, a lot of their influences for sci-fi come from Dune. Anyway, and other things too, like Alien and things like that. Because again, this all happened to them when they were kids. So, 80s, Warhammer 40k happens, Warhammer Fantasy Battles happens. They are two separate games. Some things that they share, both games have the same, so there are forces of quote-unquote good and evil, not really good in 40k, we'll get to it. But there are forces of order and chaos, essentially. It's the main primordial forces of both universe, order and chaos. It's much more, the order section is much more pronounced in fantasy version, and chaos is much more pronounced. Or no, they're both pronounced. Chaos is pronounced in both, but order is less pronounced in the 40k one. Anyway, and one of the things they share is they share the same gods of chaos basically across the board. So you have four main primordial gods of chaos, and they are basically gods that exist in another realm, like parallel to ours. They have demons and things. They're evil, essentially. They are basically the evil deep in everyone's heart or whatever. But they have four main categories. You have Khorne. You've probably heard blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. That's he's Khorne, the god of, or the chaos god of bloodshed, murder, but also like honor and honorable combat and things like that. He's very much like just war. So he's basically a war god with a lot more lean towards bloodshed and murder. Like Khorne, the phrase is Khorne doesn't care from whence the blood flows, only that it does. So Khorne just wants things to be dying. Then you have Nurgle. Nurgle is the god of decay and disease, and but also rebirth and things like that. And the way that life comes out of decay, where like a creature will die and then mushrooms will sprout out of it, because they exist because this thing died and is decaying. So Nurgle is a lot of that stuff. You have Slaanesh, who is the god / goddess, depending on who you ask, of hedonistic excess. So anything that is you take in excess. If you're like excessively proud of yourself, like too much pride, or you eat a lot, you become like monstrously fat, right? It's excess to the point where it is unreasonable to, like, you need supernatural powers to keep you alive, the amount of excess you're going into, which is how she does her thing. The main one that everyone talks about, they often refer to her as the sex god, because a lot of the excess is like, a lot of her like models or like character, like all her like units and stuff have like BDSM gear on and like one tit out, like that kind of thing. So Slaanesh is very like hedonistic things. And then the last one is Tzeentch, and he is the god of plans and ambition and lies and insanity. He's basically a god that's constantly planning stuff, constantly creating these huge, long, convoluted things that sometimes like interact with themselves in ways that seem like it's defeating itself, and then it turns out, ooh, actually it was his plan all along, or whatever. Tzeentch is funny. But yeah, so those are the main 4 gods. The reason I bring them up so early is because they are shared in both Warhammer universes. So Nurgle, Khorne, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh all exist in both universes. They have some different things going on. For example, Slaanesh in Age of Sigmar is imprisoned right now. So Slaanesh isn't actually active as a god, but is active in 40k. And in 40k, it didn't exist until recently in the grand scheme of things. But has also always existed. It gets complicated. So we're just going to hop over to 40k. We're hopping over. And I'm going to go... How do I want to explain this? The main protagonists of 40k are the humans, but they aren't the first ones in the galaxy. So I think I'm going to start early. We're going to go back. This show where we go back. Okay. Oh, also... Sorry, I forgot to mention, the main thing that Warhammer 40k is or Warhammer Age of Sigmar and 40k, is a miniature tabletop war game where you buy miniatures, you build them, you paint them, and you put them on a table and pretend they're fighting with like dice and stuff. It's less like D&D and more like StarCraft, but in real life, you know? But it's a good time, and that's the main game that they want you to buy and interact with when it comes to Warhammer stuff. All the other Warhammer things are to get you to play this game. But there are a lot of like Warhammer video games and stuff that are all set in the same universe, like Dark Tide and Space Marine, obviously, and stuff like that. So if you're interested in Warhammer stuff after hearing about it, check out a video game or two. Not all of them are good. I will admit we have like only a couple of good ones, but video games are a good way to get like stuck into the world without having to spend, $1 billion on miniatures, because it is an expensive hobby to buy, build, paint, and then play with the minis. So yeah, but there's also lore interaction too, where you can like get books and things. That's mainly what I do. I mean, I buy and paint the minis, and I play the game. Obviously, I had a tournament, but I do a lot of reading, which is why I know the things. So, in 40k, back when the universe was young, there was one main race of people, of mortals, I should say. And they had sort of taken over a lot of the galaxy, because it was not pretty empty, but pretty empty. There was other alien races, but they kind of like mostly left them alone or whatever. But there was one race of people. They're called the Necrontyr. They were sort of a semi-Egyptian themed. Was it humans? No, we're not there yet. We're still 6 million years before humans have evolved. We are. Earth is but a rock of dinosaurs. So the Necrontyr are running around. By the way, this is our timeline technically, so this would be 6 million years ago for us now. Earth as it exists now existed as it did in 40k, and historical figures that exist now exist in 40k when they would have now. So that means that's you, Canadian, are canon to the Warhammer 40k universe. Anyway, so 60 million years ago, like literally forever ago, there's a race of people called the Necrontyr, and they take over a lot of the galaxy. They have one main problem, and that is they're very short-lived. Because of some weird quirk of their evolution, the way their sun on their home planet, original home planet, basically cooked them all with permanent fucking death radiation. They have very short lives, and they die in horrible agony. So when they get to be about 25, all the tumors all over their body basically take them over, and they just fall over dead. So they die of super cancer at about 25, all of them. So they're very short-lived, and so they go through generations very quickly. Yeah, that is short. Yeah, exactly. Just gone. And so this is one of their biggest problems. And they go to a race of frog people that are very powerful. They're almost godlike. And they're called the Old Ones. We don't know much about them other than potentially frog-shaped, called Old Ones. And they say to the Old Ones, hey, Old Ones, can you make us... we know you have genetic stuff. can you make us, like, live forever? They can't be that smart, right? I mean, alien biology is different. It's quite possible that they got to a point of maturity much earlier than us. Like, it's, you know, humans, we think of everything in, like, our lens of humans being like, oh, we don't really mature until we're about 25. Like, our brains don't really finish cooking until about then, 25, 26, whatever. We don't really become the person who we are until that point. But it could be for them, they could have been, I don't know, fully grown at 2 years old, like a full adult, and then fully mature by 5, and by the time they're 25, I feel like they've lived a full life. You know, we don't know how their stuff goes. All I know is that they did want to live forever. They felt like they were living too short of a life. So they went to the old ones and they said, can you help us live longer? And the old one says, no. In fact, we're really annoyed that you guys have taken over the galaxy. So not universe, the galaxy, just the galaxy. So we are going to fight you. And it was like, oh, okay. And I think, or it might have been, the old one said no, and then the Necrontyr hated them and then wanted to fight them. One way or the other, a battle begins. The old ones don't fight on their own. They're not really fighters, they're thinkers. So the old ones create 2 new species and introduce them into the galaxy in order to fight the Necrontyr. They create the Krorks, which are large foot soldier monsters. That's K-R-O... How does it... K-R-O-K. Krork. Create a Krork. And they are large, scary monsters that are very, very smart. And while they are foot soldiers, they are born with... Basically, they're made out of mushrooms and spores and stuff. And they don't look like mushrooms. They're kind of green. And they are born with... When they come out of the ground and they sprout, they have the knowledge they need to create a functioning army. So, like, one will sprout out of the ground, and they'll know how to build, like, a space flight capable ship, just being alive. Like, they just know how to do it. So they're very scary. But on top of that, they add a secondary force to the Krorks. These are called the Eldari. A-E-L-D-A-R-I. Eldari. The Eldari live... And the Krorks also... Eldari and Krorks live forever, basically. It was almost like a big fuck you to the Necrontyr. They made 2 new races that were basically immortal. Like, they could not die of old age. And the Eldari were... like... elves who... basically like elves. But their whole shtick was that they were very psychic. And they could... use their psychic potential to do lots of things, but also they were very like fast and nimble, and which was like a counterweight to the heavy, strong, scary Krorks. So they were like a really good fighting force together. So the Necrontyr start losing the fight because they are up against an immortal fighting force that is well trained and doesn't like. Is just going at it because they were told to. Like, they have no pre-existing notions of who they are as a people. They have no traditions. They have no whatever. And so they just fight, you know? And so the Necrontyr start losing because they have this problem and they don't live very long. And there are battles that go on for 50 to 75 years. Imagine being born to your kingdom on a battlefield and you are a general your whole life only to die and the battle's not done yet, you know? So they still have this living long problem. So they find another race of beings in the galaxy called the Catan, C''T-A-N. And the Catan are basically another set of space gods. They're godlike in power, and the Necrontyr don't know much about them. All they know is that the Catan show up and say, hey, we hate the old ones. Do you hate the old ones? And the Necrontyr said, fuck yes, we hate the old ones. And the Necrontyr then make a deal with the Catan. They shake hands. The Catan say, we will teach you how to make yourselves immortal if you will give us your, like, if you will help us kill the old ones, basically. And the Necrontyr was like, fuck yeah, let's go. We were going to do that anyway. So they sign up with the Catan. And the Catan trick them. Whoa, evil star gods tricking people. Anyway, they deceive them, basically, and they how they make them immortal. I don't know if you ever watched Doctor Who. There's those people called the Cybermen, which often are people that are turned into robots. Essentially, the Catan, they get the same thing happens to them. Or sorry, not the Catan, the Necrontyr, same thing happens to them. The Catan put them in these forges. The forges destroy their body, and the souls fly out of the smokestack essentially. And the Catan eat the souls because that's what they really wanted, was their souls. Because souls are the currency in 40k, basically, for all the higher level god stuff going on. They eat the souls, and they put them into machine bodies. They put their personalities into machine bodies. Not their souls, just their personality. And the higher ranking you are, the more of your personality you kept. But if you were just a peasant, you kept nothing. You just become a soulless automaton that knows nothing but whatever they're ordered to do. But the higher, like if you're a noble, then you get to keep your personality. So there's basically a snapshot that happens. A snapshot of whichever Necrontyr were alive, and those stay that way. And they're now known as the Necrons. They're no longer the Necrontyr, they're just the Necrons. They then go out and, hello, music? Are able to fight back at a crazy level because now the technology has advanced by millennia. They can do things like turn stars into weapons. Like, they have crazy levels of technology that would look like magic to us. They have, I can't even describe some of the things they can do because I haven't read enough Necron stuff to know, but like, even they, later down the line, much further in the future, in actual Warhammer 40k times, even they don't remember some of the stuff they can do because it's been so long, kind of thing. So the Necrons exist, and they fight back, and they kick the ass of the Eldari and the Krorks, and the old ones, and they kill the old ones. They don't kill all the Krorks or the Eldari, they don't really matter. They just kill their leaders, they kill the old ones. So all the old ones are dead, they've achieved their goal, and the Necrons realize, oh fuck, well the leader Necrons realize, oh fuck, we sold our souls to, like, fight this war, and now that we finished this war, we don't have anything anymore. We just have these stupid metal bodies and our technology, and minds that are starting to fail us because they can't handle this process, like being alive like this. So they turn around and they kill the Catan. Now they can't actually kill the Catan because they are star gods, and so what they do is they shatter the Catan into a million pieces with their new tech, and they store them in things called Tesseract Vaults, and they use those Tesseract Vaults to power their technology from now on. So most of the really big things in Necron technology are powered by shards of the Catan, like star gods. At this point, they have completely taken over the galaxy. There is almost not a planet that they do not have, or that they don't. If they don't have it, they don't want it. Like, the Eldar are kind of mostly dead. The Orcs are mostly, the Krorks are mostly dead. And the Necrons go, well, we did it. We killed everything that we needed to. And the king, the Silent King, Cesarus, is it Cesarus? I think it's Cesarus. He says to them, all right, guys, good job team. Now go to sleep for 60 million years. Go underground and sleep for 60 million years because our brains are failing. And while our bodies are functioning still, eventually we will all lose our personalities, just like the Necron warriors. So go to sleep, and in 60 million years, I'll be back because I have the best brain. It's not failing. I'm gonna go out into the other galaxies, and I'm gonna try and find a way to give us back our flesh. So he flies off to cross the gulf between galaxies to find something that will work. And it's a 60 million year journey, which is why he puts them to sleep for 60 million years. Or no, anyway. That's crazy. Yeah, we're not even there yet. So they go to sleep. They all go underground, they go to sleep. We move on. 60 million years later. 60 million years later, humanity exists as like... Actually, humanity doesn't exist yet. We exist as like Australopithecines and stuff, and like Homo erectus, Homo sapien, things like that. We're not quite human. I think Homo sapien is human. Anyway, the point is we're not quite fully human yet. We're still aping around in our caves, right? The Eldari have now taken over the galaxy because they were left alone by the Necrons who went to sleep. For whatever reason, the Necrons, they don't know where they went. They just said, okay, Necrons are gone. The Eldari have this whole civilization that spans the galaxy. The Krorks, in the meantime, have started to degrade. They have turned into what are now known as orcs. So take away the K and the other R. So it's ORKS. Which galaxy? Milky Way? Yes. Milky Way galaxy. All of this is in the Milky Way. All of this is in our sort of area. So the Krorks become the Orcs because they degrade over time. They get smaller. They get stupider because they're not fighting anymore. So part of Krork biology and part of Orc biology, as a result, is that the more they fight and win, the bigger they get and the smarter they get. So all the Orc war bosses are bigger. So Orcs have this thing called might, not this thing, but they really believe in the might makes right thing, and that's because the stronger the Orc is, the bigger they are, and therefore the bigger they are, the smarter they are, and therefore the more likely one you'd want to follow anyway because they know what's going on. But Orcs get really dumb and small. And by the way, small is a relative term. They're still like bigger than a human. they're still the equivalent of a roided out gorilla, but they're smaller than they once were. And that's the thing with 40k. Everything is like so extremely turned up to 11 that it's that when I say something like, oh, it got smaller, I mean like it's still big according to us, but it got smaller. And that's for everything that happens to. Anyway, like there are whole cities that are the size of planets. Minecraft are so loud. Not for you guys, but for me. So where was I? Necrontyr, turn into Necrons, they win, they leave. Okay. So the Eldari are in charge now. They're running the galaxy, and they don't know what to do with themselves. They are running the galaxy. They've got nothing else going on, so they just start like having parties. They start doing crazy party stuff. And at this point, by the way, there are only 3 Chaos Gods in the 40k universe. You got Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Khorne. That's it. So the Eldar, by the way, they're very psychic. I think I mentioned this earlier. The Orcs have a very latent psychic ability. It's like very quiet. It's because the old ones were even more psychic, and the old ones didn't like not having their creatures be a little psychic. We'll get to the Orc latent psychic ability later. It's important later, but it's funny. But the Eldar psychic ability is... If you have to go at any point, feel free. I'm just going to keep going for the rest of the stream. This is a Warhammer stream now. The Eldar psychic ability is really strong. They can sing... There's this thing called Wraithbone, which is a material made out of psychic energy, and they can sing it into existence. I'm going to grab some food. Be right back. In 5. And I'm going to give it 5, because this is an important bit, and I'll wait for you. I'm waiting. For anyone who wasn't expecting a whole ass Warhammer stream, welcome. How's it going? This is today. This is what I'm doing today. One second, I might. Okay. Because of my cold tea. So what are we going to talk about? Let me write this out in my brain. So we're going to do Eldari, we're going to do Birth of Slaanesh, we're going to do fucking jump ahead to Imperium. Then we're going to jump ahead to... No, not jump ahead. We're talking about... Yeah, we're talking about Earth, Imps, Horus. Yeah, all right. On the plus side, we are flying off the handle in agility levels. We are almost at 68 agility. One step closer to 70. This is definitely getting longer per level. I got a level right before I started stream, so I know that it's taking me about an hour and 27 minutes to get this level. Now, it wasn't perfect running all the time, but still. I'm still gonna have to do 7 more laps to get this level because I'm only doing 48 laps an hour. If I really was worried about level, I could probably swap over to Sears Village or something. But I don't know. I am enjoying termite collection because it's turning into money. I'm gonna walk away with like a mil or two at the end of this grind. So, assuming the price stays the same. I'm sort of speculating that it'll stay above 40k. As long as it stays above 40k, then it's winning out on the Emily's crystals. At some point, it might become more profitable to get the Emily's crystals, but at the moment, these teleport scrolls are worth quite a lot. Also, I like this Graceful recolor. It makes my Graceful actually feel like I'm wearing something like unique, even though it is still graceful. It feels like I'm wearing a special suit that makes me faster or something. Instead of graceful itself, it just looks like a weird ninja outfit. I don't know. I still wish graceful was like an agility only bonus. I forget what it does still. I'll look it up. I don't actually know. I'll look it up. Graceful hood, yeah, that's what I want. When it's worn, it reduces weight by 3 kilograms, increases the run energy restoration rate, right? Okay. It's annoying to me that it's like the default outfit at this point, you know? Weight reduction and energy regeneration. Yeah, exactly. Also, welcome back. You said something about them singing something into existence. Yes. So the Eldar, they have a special material called Wraithbone, which is basically a weird bone-like material that they sing into various shapes. Now I have to get into something, which explains a little bit of Wraithbone and a little bit of something else. So there's this area... There's this area separate, there's another alternate reality separate from our reality in 40k called the Warp. It is a realm of psychic energy. So it is basically a roiling mass of psychic energy, and anyone that like calls on psychic power calls on that energy's power, essentially. So imagine if in D&D you had a plane of fire, and every time you cast a fire spell, what you're really doing is opening a very tiny portal to the plane of fire, and the portal determines the amount of fire that comes out of the portal, essentially, because it's that kind of thing, where like the warp, anytime you call on psychic energies, you are calling on the warp to do it. And the warp is entirely neutral. It is just a roiling mass of psychic energy. However, it is very dangerous for a physical person to be in that space, because this is all non-physical space. So the Eldar have created this thing with their Wraithbone and with some other stuff called a webway. And what the webway is basically a, for lack of a better term, a giant space condom that they create, that they inflate basically into the warp, that allows them to travel in the warp without getting affected by the psychic energy sort of ripping them apart. Part of the reason why they would want to travel in the warp in the first place is the warp travel is very much like, have you ever played Minecraft? Nether travel, where like in the nether you move, you know, 1 block in the nether and you've moved 5 blocks in the overworld, or whatever the fucking number is. Maybe it's like 3, but you can use like the nether to make portals essentially that let you travel less distance to get to places you want to get to. So you can sort of use it as a highway. The Eldar do the same thing. They create little tunnels that let them get from one planet to another just by walking, essentially. So you can move whole armies to a planet without the use of ships. They do have ships, and they do use them. They're pretty big and cool, because not every time, because you need to set up the portals in the first place, so you need to get to the planets. But they can use the webway to just get places very quickly. So yeah, and some webway portals are bigger than others. But they are around, and they are always active. Even if you take them off whatever planet they're on, they are still active. They're still connected to whatever part of the webway they were connected to. So they use this technology to take over the galaxy. And they have this thing called Bone Singers, which sing the Wraithbone into existence using the warp. Wraithbone is like partly a warp-based material. Anyway, so they're having these parties, and they go, hey, you know what? We're bored. These parties are boring. Let's make these parties better. So the parties get a little more crazy. The parties turn into instead of it being a regular party, now it's an orgy party. Everyone be fucking. You're like, oh, okay. And this goes on for a while, and then the Eldar go, hey, we're bored again. Let's make these parties crazier. So instead of just an orgy party, now it's an orgy. Now it's an orgy party, but you take people who aren't so interested in orgies. Now it's an orgy. Now it's an orgy, a non-consensual orgy party, and they go on for a little bit like that. And they go, you know what? This is boring. This is boring. Let's up our game. Now, instead of a non-consensual orgy party, we're having non-consensual level 68. what a clip. Now we're having non-consensual orgy parties that also we murder people at the end of. And the people who are getting murdered, they're actually way into getting murdered. Also, there's going to be arena fights in the middle of our orgies, and also there's going to be like they lose their fucking mind, just bored as hell. They go deep into this fucking wild, excessive bullshit. And because they're so psychic, and because of the wild excess, all this excess and things formulate in the warp, and suddenly makes that noise. A new god is born. Slaanesh appears, the goddess of excess, she who thirsts, or he who thirsts, again, depending on who you ask. All the humans that refer to Slaanesh as he, all the elves refer to Slaanesh as she. Who knows? Sometimes in the same sentence, a GW will say, he does this. He does this frequently with his followers, or like he does this with her followers. Like they'll change her pronouns randomly throughout the sentence because that's just how Slaanesh is. Slaanesh is funny like that. Anyway, Slaanesh is born. I usually use she because I'm used to saying she who thirsts. So Slaanesh is born, and she immediately upon being born eats all of the souls of half or more of the Eldar. Just gone. All those Eldar are dead. Eldar are another word for Eldari, by the way. They're the same species. It's just like the human way of saying Eldari is just saying Eldar. So the Eldar get sucked off in a bad way, and their souls get sucked into oblivion by Slaanesh. And she uses that to power her expansion basically into existence. The gods that were existing, Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, are not happy about this. Mostly Khorne. Khorne is the least happy. Fun little fact, this isn't very important to the story. There are also elven gods. They are elves basically ascended to godhood through enough belief in the elves. They're very low power compared to the chaos gods. But there's a moment when Slaanesh was born where Khorne is so angry at Slaanesh for existing that Khorne picks up the elven god of murder, he's kind of cool with because they're both gods of murder. But like he picks up the elven god of murder as a weapon and hits Slaanesh like over the head of the elven god of murder and shatters the elven god into a million pieces. So like that kind of shit happens. So Khaine gets shattered, and a bunch of the elven gods either get captured or destroyed in this process of things happening, and the Eldar society basically falling apart. The Eldar completely get scattered and shattered and destroyed, and all of their planets become unsafe for some reason. I forget why. Basically, they all leave all of their planets and get on these things called craft worlds, which are giant spaceships that house a planet's worth of people in them. And they all go their separate ways with their craft worlds. That's half the Eldar. The other half of the Eldar, and sorry, we'll get to, no. So half the Eldar become craft worlds, and the craft world Eldar discover, while they're in the craft worlds, that they create this invention called a soul gem. And a soul gem is a little, like just a little gem, maybe about fist size in person. So not that little, but like on the model when you're painting, it's very small. And what the soul gem does, sometimes they have multiple on them just in case, is when they die, their soul gets sucked into the gem to not go into the ether. And the reason they do this is because all Eldar basically Slaanesh has claimed their souls. The ones that she didn't eat, she still claimed them. So any Eldar souls that like fly out into the ether, Slaanesh then consumes. So to avoid this fate, the Eldar have the soul gems on them so that when they die, their soul gets sucked into the nearest soul gem, and those soul gems get stored into large soul computers, basically, where they live out their days in this sort of heaven-like, like digital heaven created thing, where the souls are like stuck in there. Sometimes they'll take the soul gems out of particularly good warriors and put them into robots. Be like, hey, you're back for a little bit, please fight for us. Those are called Wraith Lords. It's a whole thing. And they're not the only species to put their dead in robots. We'll get to it. Actually quite common. Hello, music. This is fun. Then there's another half of the Eldar who don't do the Soul Gem route. They don't do the Craft World route. They hide in the Webway. When everything goes to shit, they decide the best place to hide is in the perfectly safe Webway. And it's mostly safe. The main city they go to is called Comora. It's like the word Gamora, but with a C, so it's Comora. And Comora is how you would expect for a place named like Gomorrah. If you know any of your, if you've ever heard like any biblical story ever about Sodom and Gomorrah, or played Fallout, you know that Gomorrah is a place of like hedonistic excess or whatever. And so there are elves that go to Comora to hide out there and basically go into the pirate cove that is Comora and live there. They discover, without using soul gems, that if they behave excessively, so if they torture people or torture themselves or do crazy fights for no reason, like big arena fights, or graft things on the people or whatever, like they learn that if they become the worst possible people they could be, that the feeling they have of Slaanesh pulling on their soul goes away, and they live forever again. That's the other thing. They lost their immortality when Slaanesh was born, because Slaanesh is constantly sucking on their soul. So they basically do not live forever anymore. And the Eldar feel it, or the Dark Eldar. These are the ones that go into the Webway. The Drukhari. They feel it. They feel the pull less, and they live longer if they do horrible things. So you have two different Eldar that split off. They don't hate each other or anything. They still work together sometimes. They just find distaste in each other's methods. What else? There's also, so that happens there. Orcs devolve. Eldar split and shatter. Things go to shit. The galaxy gets repopulated by random species like the Hrud and the Rangdan and things like that. They're just random, like, Star Wars-ass aliens, right? At this point, humanity has become a thing. We don't exist, basically, in the way we anticipate until Slaanesh is born. But at this point, the gods, they exist, but they're not, like, the Chaos Gods exist, but they're not, like, as formulated as they are now. Basically, like, the warp is calmer. Once humans become on the scene, and we also have, like, psychic abilities and stuff, some psychic potential, suddenly the gods get empowered by us, because we are, like, an incredibly flawed species, essentially, who are very easily swayed into excess and blood and rage and bloodshed and sloth from the Nurgle, and like we're really into like ambition and plans. Like we basically accidentally fuel the gods with our existence. Everything happens that is happening now. Everything. Jesus, I guess, if you believe he happened the way he happened. Where's some other historical figures? He's the first big historical figure I can think of. JFK exists. Martin Luther King exists. In fact, there's even a little passage about him. Alexander the Great exists. Like, literally, our history happens. Then fucking... what's it called? That happens, and eventually we become technologically advanced. Like we're talking sci-fi Star Trek level advanced, and we can do crazy shit like replicate food and fly off into the stars, and we spread across the galaxy. Now we're the ones in charge of the galaxy, and we're everywhere, and just like every planet basically has humans on it that can hold human life, and some that can't because we have the technology to do that. We have these AI robots that help us with stuff. We have a bunch of like really crazy technology that again looks like magic. We're close to we're like similar to technology as the Necrons kind of thing. Like things are crazy good. Then out of nowhere, something happens. And I'm being very vague about what that something happens is because the universe itself is very vague about it. They say that there's a thing called Old Night, which is basically where humanity loses a bunch of access to their technology and or falls apart and becomes separated, and a bunch of humans actually go back to like medieval technology because their technology is failing, but their medieval technology on planets out into the stars because they colonized them and then lost access to the ability to use them. So basically, Old Night happens. All we know out of Old Night is once Old Night happens, the use of AI is banned. So it's probably something to do with the AI and the Men of Iron, which is what they call them. Like potentially rebelling against the humans, but we don't know that for a fact. That's just a theory, basically. I mean, we do know that the AI rebelled. We don't know if that's the reason for Old Night. All we know is that Old Night happens and all technology ceases to function the way it used to, or it does still function, but we don't know how to use it anymore. Something happens to us where we get spread across and isolated. Then on Earth, a bunch of I'm gonna buy 10 more of these scrolls. On Earth, a bunch of the now we're up to 1.2 mil. This is still happening also. Earth gets scoured of plant life, of oceans, like it just becomes a wasteland essentially. And they get to about the year 30,000. So if we're in the year 2000 right now, imagine 18,000 more years. No, that's only... What am I talking about? That's only 2,000, 20,000. Imagine 28,000 more years. So what we've done since the beginning, since the time we've been counting years, now multiply that by 14. Anyway, so the year 30,000 roughly, a man appears on Earth somewhere near the Himalayas, and he is a golden 8-foot giant, no, golden 10-foot giant. He's huge, whose face changes depending on who's looking at him, and he has like a bright light that's like constantly behind him, and you can sort of sense it. You get this feeling of like religious awe when you're near him. He shows up and says are giants men? He claims to be. So there's not a real giant. He just is a giant human. So he says he's a regular human. This is what he claims. When he shows up, he's like, I am a regular human. And everyone's like, okay. And he's like, I am, he is technically. He's just a regular human with he's incredibly psychic. And he's one of a very specific type of people. So there's a type of people called the Eternals, or Immortals. I think it's Eternals, which are people who can't die. They do die, but when they die, they just find themselves back again for whatever reason. And it's like a human-specific trait. Only humans get this. I say yes. Then I agree. So he's an Eternal. He can die, but he also can live forever if left alone, if he's not killed. If he is killed, he comes back. And he says, I am proclaiming myself the Emperor of Mankind. I have been with mankind since the beginning, but I've been hiding. I am going to show myself now to help us into the future so I can reunite the shattered remnants of humanity across the stars and become one empire again to defeat the great evils of the galaxy. And most of the Earth says, fuck you, dude. We don't care about, we selling religion, get out of here. He's like, no, I'm not selling religion. I am just a human who wants to reunite humanity. And they're like, no, get out of here. So he creates a thing through genetics on people that he calls the Thunder Warriors. Thunder Warriors are like, 8-foot tall, 7-foot tall, giant men who have like a bunch of redundant organs and are like very good at fighting. And they're just like, if you know what Space Marines are just through like memes, they're proto Space Marines essentially. They're called the Thunder Warriors though. And he makes them and gives them chapters and organizations and stuff. And they help him retake Terra, which is what they call Earth. They help him retake Terra, and basically take it from the techno-barbarian warlords that had taken over Terra, take their technology away from them, and they establish this whole thing on Terra for like they put the palace of like the Emperor's palace on Mount Everest, like in the Himalayas. That's where the Emperor is roughly from. He's like from there's a point where the Emperor talks about his history and talks about being born into like a Mongolian tribe, and how like talks about being like the horse archer was the pinnacle of war or whatever when he was alive, when he was born. Anyway, he's been around for a while. He is the God Emperor of mankind. He makes this thing on Terra. He just makes this whole thing. When he's done with Earth, he turns to his Thunder Warriors and says, "Hey, I've done a thing." We're gonna back up a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna back up a little bit because I went a little too far, too fast. The Emperor, during this crusade of getting Earth, he creates in a lab 20 sons that are, he calls them sons because they're using some of his genetic material, that are each an aspect of him, essentially an aspect of his personality. And he creates 20 of them, and they are basically the greatest warriors humanity's ever seen. They're designed for war, but they're also, some of them are designed for statecraft, and some of them are like, basically, if the Emperor is the equivalent to a god, they are equivalent to demigods. He makes a Hercules, you know what I mean? Like, he makes 20 of these dudes, each of them very different. Now, there's some theories on how he made these dudes. Okay, we're gonna back up a little bit. The Thunder Warriors were his first attempt to make something similar, and he failed miserably. The Thunder Warriors are very strong, but they have genetic instabilities that make them kind of go crazy and kill everyone around them and themselves eventually after a certain period of time. They're very volatile. So he fails and he can't get them to work right. And the Emperor goes to a planet with a contingent of people, and he comes back alone. Basically, he leaves the planet. Like, the people stay on the planet or die or whatever. We don't know what happened. He comes back to the planet, comes back from the random planet alone, and he has new knowledge and new technology on how to create these bigger, better demigods that he calls the Primarchs. Now, the name of the planet, I forgot what it was, but it's like ancient Babylonian or something, and it translates to like the god of sacrificing children or something like that. Like it's something like that, where it's obvious basically through hints from GW and stuff that and the gods, the Chaos Gods also say this directly a couple times, but the Chaos Gods lie, so it's kind of hard to know if they're telling the truth or not. But they claim, and it's implied, that the Emperor basically went to this planet, made a deal with the gods of chaos, like, hey, I want to make these demigods. Give me the power to make these demigods, and I will. That's my strange plant, but I don't want it. Hold on, I gotta tell my. Where's my? I have a random event tracker. I'm supposed to tell it when. Yes, it was mine. Anyway, he makes a deal with the Chaos Gods, and he gets 20 sons. Now, it is theorized, this is full theory now, there's no evidence to back this up, that the part of the deal he made with the Chaos Gods was that 10 of them, a full half of them, would join Chaos as their champions. And he says okay to this. So that's the theory. Yeah. So a full 10 of them are going to join Chaos, whatever that means. And I feel like it doesn't happen. We'll get there. This is a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Backstabbery incoming, potentially. So they say, okay, only half of them will fall to Chaos, the other half will not. We promise, we swear. Cross fingers. And the Emperor says, yeah, I promise, I swear. Oh, I can actually pick this up. I promise, I swear I'll do it. Let's get this going. Oh, I missed it. Holy shit. Anyway, so he comes back from the planet with new technology. He makes the Primarchs. There's 20 of them. I'll get into them eventually. We'll get there. Good God, there's so much to talk about. But the reason why there's so much lore is that there's like 40, 50 years of people writing books at this point. Like, there's so many Warhammer books. It's crazy. Anyway, so he comes back from the planet. He's full up on Primarch juice. He makes the Primarchs. In the process of making the Primarchs, something happens. He builds a Geller field, which is a particular type of field that protects people from the warp. By the way, humans discover space travel, and sorry, I forgot about this. The only way they can get through space is the same way the Eldar did with going through the warp. However, they can't create the webways, they can't figure them out. So what they make instead are a thing called Geller fields, which go onto spaceships and things that give them a little tiny bubble of protection as they travel through the warp manually with spaceships. So when they say we're going to warp travel, this is why it's called the warp. Warp travel for 40K is going basically through this space of pure emotion. Often the warp is referred to as hell too, so it is kind of like traveling through hell to get to where you're trying to go. Anyway, and a little bubble of protection. So the Emperor has his Geller field up around his Primarch project in the Himalayas, and during this process, at some point, the Geller field fails, and when it fails, all of the Primarchs get sucked. All the baby Primarchs get sucked through, with their little gestation pods through the portal and into scattered across various different planets, essentially. So the Emperor then, back to where we were, was working on the Thunder Warriors. He uses the genetic material left over from the Primarchs to make a new type of Thunder Warrior called the Space Marine, and these are stable. These work. And the genetic material, by the way, is called a gene seed. It is an organ. It used to be called gene sperm, and then they changed it. Thank fuck. It's called gene seed. It has nothing to do with its name either. It's literally a bulbous, fleshy organ, like almost like a giant testicle, I guess, that they put in their chest and in their neck, which implants into they put it into a baby, a child, and it makes them grow into a Space Marine. By the way, you can only make Space Marine out of children, Space Marines, and you also need to give them a million surgeries that give them all kinds of crazy shit. Like Space Marines can spit acid, they can eat someone's brain and see their memories. They have like 2 sets of lungs, 2 hearts, their rib cage is fused closed, so it's like reinforced. All their bones are reinforced. They have plasteel, which is like plastic steel, embedded in their skin. They have a specific thing called the black carapace, which is like another extra layer of skin that connects them to their power armor. They also have power armor, which is so power hungry and powerful that they have power packs on the back they literally have little nuclear reactors on their backs to keep them powered. Like, they're very they make crazy good warriors, essentially. Basically really close facsimile of who the Krorks used to be. But smaller. So he makes these Space Marines, and he uses them, and he splits them up into legions, splits them up into 20 legions, essentially. Each one for a missing son that has gone through the warp portal. And then he starts the Crusade. And he kills all the Thunder Warriors. He uses the Space Marines to kill the Thunder Warriors because they've outlived their usefulness. So you can see that Big E is not a good guy. The Emperor. He's just a guy trying to do a thing and doing it by any means necessary. So, and the Backstabbery, by the way, was scattering the Primarchs because the gods got upset that he hid them from them. Anyway, while the Primarchs are scattered, the gods, weirdly true to their word, choose 10 of them that they want, basically, and start trying to influence them a little bit, while they're on their planet. We don't know how much of that is actually, functions, but they start giving them little influencey stuff. So he goes out, and the Emperor goes out and starts his crusade and starts collecting planets again, and basically demanding that the planet either. There was a backstab. The backstab was Chaos sending all of the Primarchs out into space onto various planets on their own. And so the Emperor no longer has access to his Primarchs. He made them, but he doesn't have them anymore. And he just has his Space Marines, which are facsimiles, like lesser versions of the Primarchs. So, the Emperor goes out into space on a crusade to go, and also there might be more backstabbing later. We'll find out. So he goes on a crusade to go collect his lost sons and also to collect the remnants of humanity. When he finds a new planet, he says, "Hi, I'm the Emperor of Mankind. Join the Imperium, or I will exterminate you. Until you do, or you're dead." And most people say, yeah, okay, I guess, because they don't have the technology or the ability. A lot of them are still medieval again. So a lot of them are like, oh god, a creature of gold just came out of the sky on a chariot and demanded that we join him, and he'll teach us how to farm without breaking our backs. Let's do it. So it's very easy for a lot of it to be like, hey, join us. Okay. But there are some people that fight back. They say, hey, no, we're like, they still have their technology or whatever, and they're perfectly happy how they are. Or they have cultures, or sometimes humans have diverged enough that that's the other thing. The Emperor's a little racist. Basically, if anyone is not human enough, he exterminates the planet. He doesn't even ask, hey, do you want to join? Now, there are some exceptions to this. There's the Ogren, which are very big humans. They're basically ogres. There's some beastmen, which are humans that have like hooves and stuff. They're generally not treated really well in the guard, but they do like in the army. But they still do exist. There's like felinids, which are people that kind of have cat ears and like weird cat features. So there's a layer of like, this is okay, and then but if you're this different, if you're like, oh, you got 6 legs now or whatever, then you're forgotten about. The genetic variation is too much. We're gonna kill you. So he goes on his crusade, and he collects a bunch of planets, and he collects his Primarchs. So we're going to go through the Primarchs real fast. I got to pull up a list, because there's 20 of them. Well, actually, there's 18 of them, so that's part of it. So there's 20 Primarchs, originally. Two of them are... They're called the Lost and the Damned. Like, one is called the Lost, one is called the Damned. No, sorry. The Lost and the Forgotten. That was it. My bad. Lost and the Damned is a different thing. They're called the Lost and the Forgotten. And the Forgotten and the Lost, we don't know anything about them. Like, literally nothing. We don't know their name. We don't know what their personality was like. We don't know what their legion was like, because they were removed from all Imperial records. For whatever, they each did a thing that made it so that they were not even allowed to be spoken about anymore. They were just like, nope, can't talk about them. They're gone. We've removed them. It's heresy or whatever to speak about them. It's bad. We'll kill you. Like, there's a story of one of the Primarchs trying to say the name of one of them because he's upset that they've like expunged basically what he thinks of as his brother from the records. Voldemort. Yeah, basically, but 2 of them. And in the process of him trying to say like the name of one of them, another guy named Malcador, who's basically a human, who's like the Emperor's right-hand man, essentially, who's almost as psychically powerful as the Emperor, but doesn't look like him, basically chokes out the Primarch that's trying to say it, and almost kills him for just trying to say the name, basically. So they're very serious about the don't say a thing. So you may notice I said that the Primarch was there. So the Emperor does go and collect all of his sons. He gets all 18 of them. In order of collection? Yes. Okay. So technically the first Primarch the Emperor finds is Alfarius. Alfarius is the leader of the Alpha Legion. But Alfarius is weird. So Alfarius is actually 2 people. So this is where it gets already immediately funny. Starting with Alpha Legion is crazy. So Alfarius, when he gets sent through the warp portal, something goes extra wrong, and Alfarius splits into 2 people. Alfarius and Omegon. Omegon goes to the planet that Alfarius was supposed to go to. Alfarius basically just falls out of the portal like 20 feet down the mountain on Terra. So the Emperor finds Alfarius early and raises him, or Malcador the Sigillite raises Alfarius on Terra in secret. He doesn't tell anyone that he still has one Primarch, because he doesn't even want the Chaos Gods to know that he got to keep one. And so Alfarius is raised in secret. But because Alfarius was split into 2 people, he's smaller than the other Primarchs. He's about the size of a regular Space Marine. So a lot of times, Alfarius is present for a lot of historical events, pretending to be one of the Space Marines in whoever's legion is there for whoever they're fighting, you know? So he's there for a lot of the times when the Emperor finds one of his sons or whatever. And Alfarius sort of has this like innate ability to hide his presence on top of being small, and like basically Alfarius' personality is subterfuge and CIA shit, like make people like setting up a plan years in advance to execute it. Like that's his whole style. Same thing with Omegon. To the point where when the Emperor eventually finds Omegon is the last Primarch for him to find. So Alfarius was the first, Omegon's the last. And when he finds Omegon shows up, and Alfarius has already found Omegon himself first. And they orchestrate the whole finding of Omegon. Like they basically planned it ahead of time exactly how it's going to go. Omegon boards Oris' ship and shows up, and when he shows up, he's like, "Oh, who are you?" And Omegon's first words in the entire Imperium are, "I am Alfarius," which is immediately a lie. He starts off lying. So then there's this constant thing of like, oh, there's actually two Primarchs, Alfarius and Omegon, and they are twins, and they trade places, and sometimes they're in two places at once. Sometimes one of them's in the Legion pretending to be there, and then all the people in the Alpha Legion shave their heads because Alfarius is bald. Shave their heads and make themselves look like Alfarius so that they can pretend to be Alfarius too. So it becomes a bit of a meme that a lot of the Alpha Legion say, "I am Alfarius," and claim to be Alfarius. Sort of like the I am Spartacus thing. But yeah, so he's the first to be found and the last to be found. Second to be found is Horus Lupercal. He's the leader of the Luna Wolves and eventually the Sons of Horus when they changed their name. His whole thing is basically he's charismatic and a very good leader. I'm gonna go on a much shorter tangent for the rest of these Primarchs because they're not as not that interesting. You have Leman Russ, who is basically a Viking man. The Emperor shows up and he's like, "Hey, you're my son," and Leman Russ says, "Sure, prove it. Let's have a hunting contest, a drinking contest, or whatever." And the Emperor resoundingly beats and a fight. And the Emperor resoundingly beats him at all three. And he goes, "Okay, you're the dad. Let's go." So Russ is very like boisterous and loud and drinking and yelling and being silly. He's the big Viking man. Then in official records, he finds the second Primarch, because they're all labeled like 1 through 20. He finds he finds the lost or the forgotten, we don't know which. And then we move on. Then he finds Ferrus Manus, his name means iron hand in Latin, and you might not be surprised, but he has iron hands. His hands are made out of necrodermis, which are the things that Necrons are made out of. So he stumbled onto a Necron tomb, and somehow when he was like young, he lost his hands. He had them replaced in the Necron tomb by necrodermis hands, which he can shift into tools and stuff. Or he can like heat things up. Like he can mold metal. He can forge metal without ever heating it up. Basically, is what I mean. Like he can just create things without having to like actually forge them. So he's a very good at like intricate little things, but also at like just craftsmanship stuff. You have Fulgrim, who is the Emperor's children. The leader. Ferrus Manus is the leader of the Iron Hands. Fulgrim is the leader of the Emperor's children. He's like kind of a dandy. He's very like, "Ooh, we are so perfect and excellent." But he's pretty loyal. They're all loyal, by the way. For the moment, they are all loyal. Fulgrim is a cool dude. He's very much about perfection. He's a perfectionist in sometimes a bad way. And he gets Vulcan. Vulcan is like sort of his like represents the Emperor's love of humanity. Vulcan is very much like the kindest of the Primarchs, and even though he's a big scary man with like literally jet black skin and bright red eyes, like he looks like he's made out of volcano stuff. Obsidian, that's what I'm looking for. And he's very like kind to people. He always cares about civilian casualties, that kind of thing. Rogel Dorn is basically German efficiency made person. That's loud. He wears the colors of the old Holy Roman Empire, that like yellow, black, and red, and he's very much like all about efficiency and making sure that like everything is running correctly. And he's a good siege master, but he's good at like protecting himself from sieges, not about breaking sieges. You got Rabute Gilliman. He is the leader of the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines are the Space Marines you always see in like ads and stuff. They're the blue ones with the gold trim. He is the perfect statesman. Everyone makes fun of him as like he's like the spreadsheet guy, and he kind of is. He's really, really good at running countries and planets and systems and things like that. In fact, when the Emperor finds when the Emperor finds all of the suns, most of them have conquered their planet by the time the Emperor finds them. When the Emperor finds Rabute Gilliman, he's conquered the entire system and put it into like a paradise system, essentially, where everything is really nice there, not just conquered. So Gilliman is like seen as the potential successor to the Emperor if the Emperor would ever step down, because he's so good at running statesmanship stuff. There's Magnus the Red, who is a large man with, I mean, they're all large men, but with like red skin and one eye. Not one eye in the center like an actual Cyclops, but like he's just missing an eye. And that is a direct reference by the writers to Odin, who gave up his eye for knowledge. So Magnus the Red is very much a guy who's very into knowledge and learning and stuff, and he's also incredibly psychic, like so psychic that it's said that his powers might even rival the Emperor in terms of like he could probably have a psychic battle with the Emperor and potentially win, kind of thing, if he were to so decide to. He is very, very powerful that way. In fact, everyone else often when the Primarchs talk, usually they use hologram projections where they stand in front of them and then can talk to each other as if they're all there. Magnus the Red does not do that. He just psychically projects himself to that spot instead, wherever that is in the galaxy. Like, that's the kind of shit he pulls. And he just teleports and stuff around. Anyway, Sanguinius is the leader of the Blood Angels. Sorry, I've been forgetting about the Legion. It's not that important. He's got big angel wings. He's also kind of a weird vampire guy, but he keeps that under wraps. And he can see the future a little bit, like a couple minutes into the future, so he's really good at fighting because he knows what's going to happen. Or he can predict what's going to happen based on what he saw. But yeah, he's seen as like the perfect son. He's got angel wings and he's beautiful and he's well loved by all, and there doesn't seem to be any problems with him or his Legion, even though they do have this whole red thirst going on. They kind of hide that, where they like have this need to drink blood or whatever. Lionel Johnson is the leader of the Dark Angels. He is basically your classic knight, like lord. Like, he grew up on a planet that was all like castles and forests, and he fought monsters. He's kind of secretive, but like in a weird sort of Knights Templar kind of way. Imagine seeing yourself dying in the future. So yeah, actually, Sanguinius does see himself, like, he knows when he's going to die. It's one of the few, like, really far future sights he's seen, is he's seen his death. And he's trying to prevent it, kind of, but he also kind of knows that, like, every time you try and prevent it, it can make it worse. So he's seen it, and he's just going to try and, like, dodge it when he gets there, basically. But he knows that he's going to die. So there's this, like, light bit of melancholy about him. Yeah, Lionel Johnson's pretty cool, secretive knight, Mason order kind of thing. Perturabo is Neckbeard Man. And you think I'm kidding, but he really is, like, he's just annoying. He thinks he's the best. He's kind of incompetent. He does dumb shit, like when someone upsets him in his Legion, he'll decimate it, which means he'll kill 1 in every 10 men, even if they had nothing to do with what went wrong. Like, it's stupid. Perturabo's dumb, but he leads up the Iron Warriors, and they're very much into their technology and augmenting themselves with stuff. A Mortarian is the leader of the Death Guard. He grew up on a planet that's very toxic, and as such, he's a little bit sickly looking, but he's got so used to it that he keeps a breather mask on at all times that is putting the toxic atmosphere of his home planet into his face, so he's never really out of it. But he favors, like, the farming tools. He's very much like the Visage of Death. He wears, like, a big cloak. He has a big scythe. He has the rebreather, so he's like constantly, like, he's one of the few Primarchs you can look at and you go, that looks like a bad guy. Like, right off the bat. You got Lorgar, who is my favorite Primarch. He's the guy who leads the Word Bearers, which are the Legion that I play. And he is very religious. He basically conquers his planet by overthrowing the pre-existing religion with the idea that there's a single god out there instead of a million, or sort of a bunch. And the single god he's imagining in his prophetic visions is the Emperor. So when the Emperor shows up, he's like, oh, fuck, I was right. And he joins up with the assumption that the Emperor, is a god. So, yeah. And the Emperor does not correct him. I mean, he corrects him, but not really. He's like, no, stop that. And then doesn't actually do anything to really correct him. There's Jagatai Khan. We're almost done with the Primarchs, and we can move on to other things. Jagatai Khan is like your classic Mongolian horse, like cavalry archer kind of thing, except instead of cavalry they use like motorbikes, like jet bikes and stuff, which is really fucking cool. The Khan and Leman Russ are very similar, and they're kind of both unpredictable because they grew up on sort of semi-feral death worlds. Not death worlds, like feral, like really medieval planets, and then didn't bother like increasing their technology level until the Emperor comes along. But he's a cool dude overall. Conrad Kurz, he's another one that looks crazy from the start. He grew up on a he leads the Night Lords, which are basically they rule by fear. Essentially, they can conquer planets by just showing up, because people are like, oh shit, the Night Lords are here, we give up. Because how Conrad Kurz conquered his own planet, because he did conquer his own planet, was anybody who committed a crime, he would capture them and torture them for weeks and play the torture sounds and or video across like planet wide, and then kill their family and torture their family and play those planet wide until everyone was too afraid to do crime, because everyone they know and themselves would be tortured for weeks on end. So he conquered his planet that way, because also he wasn't like on a crime planet. It was very crime centric. Everyone was on a gang or whatever. It's on Nostromo. Anyway, and he basically believes that humans are always evil and will only not be evil if you basically scare it out of them through excessive torture and things like that. So he like wears the skin of his fucking tortured victims and stuff. He's another one. He's like jet black eyes. He's another one where like you look at him and go, that's a villain. You have Angron of the Night of the World Eaters, yeah. He is also pretty crazy, though it was kind of not his fault. I'll do that one really quickly. His main thing was empathy originally. He could take people's pain away. Like he could literally touch them, and if they were upset, he could make them no longer upset. He was a very nice, very loving, small child. Until he got the planet he landed on, though, they saw that he was like strong and big, and so they put him into gladiatorial arenas, basically, to fight. And he would like, heal the combatants with real healing and emotional healing after the fights or whatever, the ones that he didn't have to kill. And but then they were like, you're not aggressive enough. So they basically lobotomized him to the point where they put a bunch of things in his brain called the butcher's nails that give him physical painful tics and pain when he's not himself causing bloodshed or pain. So any moment that he's not hurting someone, it hurts him to an insane degree, like immeasurable. He obviously doesn't have anyone in the world like him, and he really doesn't like not having anyone in the world like him. So he convinces the Mechanicum, which we'll get to. Jesus Christ, there's so much shit. I might just summarize this faster soon. There's so much shit. And he gets to the Mechanicum, and he's like, hey, make my fucking brain thing, put it in all my guys. So they do. They put the butcher's nails, they recreate them and put them in every single world leader, so they too become like their dad and crazy berserkers who basically have to deal pain or they will feel pain. Another one that you're like, that might be a villain. Corvus Corax is the sneaky guy, where Alfarius is like subterfuge and sabotage. Corvus is like stealth and backstabbing, if that makes sense. He's very different style of stealth, but it's very similar in that he's both also stealthy. He also has jetpack eyes, just like fucking Conrad Kurz. And then we're back to Alfarius. Oh no, and then the lost and or forgotten. So Primarchs. The reason why I bring them up and they're so important is because a lot of the setting revolves around Space Marines, and so the humans and Space Marines and stuff like that become very important. The Imperium also, beyond the Space Marines, have two other divisions. They have the Adeptus Mechanicus, which are a cult of machine worshippers that live on Mars that are necessary to keep around because they basically only are the only ones who know how to use technology and control it. They do have this weird thing going on where they're not allowed to create new technology. That doesn't really happen until 40k, but it's a thing. And then the Imperial Guard, which are, or the Adeptus, the Adeptus Militarum, that's it. The Imperial Guard, they are just your average soldiers, essentially. Anyway, so the long story short, things go bad after the Emperor finds all of his sons. They go on crusades for 100 or so years. The Emperor goes back to Terra because the Emperor is working on a thing called the Human Webway Project, that's what he calls it, where he's trying to create a webway like the Eldar so that they can travel through the warp safely without having to rely on Geller fields and protect themselves from the stuff in the warp. Essentially, he's trying to circumnavigate what the gods planned. All this time, though, he knows that still 10 of them will turn on him, at least. If the gods haven't lied, 10 of them will turn on him, and he's already expunged 2. So he's hopeful it will only be 8 of them, and he'll have the other 10 will be on his side, essentially. He basically expunged 2 that he believed were turning to chaos, and went, okay, no, get out of here. But he couldn't figure out the rest, even though you have stuff like Night Haunter. Anyway, that's what Conrad Kurz called himself, as Night Haunter. Excuse me. So eventually, shit does go down, and 9 of the Primarchs betray the Emperor. Of the 18 that are left, a full half of them go. So the Chaos just said half. They didn't say half of what you started with. So 9 of the Primarchs betray the Emperor. A couple of them fall to very certain, particular gods. A couple of, one of them dies. We'll go through the list real quick again to tell you which ones do which. So, the betrayers, if you remember the names, which you probably don't, but you might. Horus is the lead betrayer, and he starts, this whole betrayal is called the Horus Heresy. You may have heard of this before, but that is Horus basically gathering his brothers up to betray the Emperor because he believes the Emperor is undeserving of the Empire because the Emperor leaves for a long period of time for the Human Webway Project, but doesn't explain to any of his sons what he's doing. Fulgrim defects because Fulgrim picks up a Slaanesh cursed sword that is possessed by a demon and becomes possessed by a demon. Fulgrim eventually does unpossess himself, but is so embroiled in the Slaanesh stuff at that point that it doesn't matter. He still is a worshipper of Slaanesh. Magnus the Red eventually falls to Tzeentch, the god of magic and clans and things like that. Though he was originally trying to be loyal and basically tried to warn the Emperor that Horus was betraying him, and because he used psychic energy to warn the Emperor, it ruined the Human Webway Project, and the Emperor got mad and sent Russ after Magnus to capture him. Russ decided it was better to kill him, and so tried to kill Magnus the Red, at which point Magnus said, "Fuck you, Emperor, for trying to kill me," even though that's not really what happened, and betrays him and joins Horus. Sanguinius dies. Ferrus Manus dies. Rogel Dorn, I think, also dies. Rabute gets put in a coma. Leman Russ disappears. I'm just going to go through them all. Vulcan disappears. Basically, they all disappear or die, with some exceptions. Sanguinius dies for sure. Sanguinius is killed by Horus moments before Horus kills the Emperor. Now, you might remember earlier I said the Emperor is an immortal and eternal or whatever, and he can't die. However, he mortally wounds the Emperor unto death, and the Emperor is saved, quote unquote, by being... Oh, no worries, brother. No worries. I'm going to keep finishing this for whoever's on the VOD. The Emperor is then saved by Malcador the Sigillite, kind of, and also kind of another guardsman. Anyway, he's put on the Golden Throne, and his life is saved, which means he doesn't die, which means he doesn't regenerate, but he needs to stay on the Golden Throne because it's like it's a shield that's keeping chaos off of Terra. It's a whole thing. Let's see where we'll be. Lionel Johnson disappears. He's back now. He's real again. Perturabo is he goes to chaos. He betrays, unsurprisingly. Mortarion betrays, unsurprisingly. Lorgar betrays, a little surprisingly, because Lorgar is upset that the Emperor basically destroyed one of his favorite places to be like, hey, I'm not a god, stop it. And he's like, yo, you didn't tell me that for 100 years, and you're telling me that now, and you do it by destroying one of my most beloved cities? Fuck you, dude. In fact, Lorgar is the instigator of the betrayal. He's the one that convinces Horus that he should betray the Emperor. So really, the entire Horus heresy can be, pinned down to just when Lorgar, when Monarchia falls, essentially. Jagatai Khan, despite being believed he was less loyal than the rest, is loyal. Conrad Kurz betrays the Emperor. Angron betrays the Emperor. Corvus Corax, he stays. And Alpharius / Omegon also betray the Emperor. So you get, you know, a whole slew of betrayals going on. Horus Heresy, half of them fall to Chaos. And you have Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, and so forth. In fact, that, I think, is actually where I'm going to leave it. Because my mouth is dry. I need water. Or at least I'm just going to leave the explanation for the VOD. And then the next time I get on this rant, I'll start with like fucking aliens. Because there's aliens. I mean, I just need to do this PowerPoint, man. I should just start over, do the PowerPoint. Oh, that was so much talking. I wish I could teach a class on Warhammer and just fucking like, all right, this week we're doing this. We're doing the War in Heaven. This week we're doing the fucking the Emperor of Mankind or whatever. Ugh. Just zoning out now. Fucking brain and Warhammer. Gosh, I really want to play AOS. I'm so fucking... I have all these ghosts. I want to play Spearhead. I'm gonna fucking message it, dude. Like, give me Spearhead. Now we're just vibing. Where we at? Bing, bing. Okay, we're at 68. We're halfway there. How many laps till goal? 43. We've done 51 laps per hour, so basically a little under an hour. Sorry, I'm doing a little type about water toxicity at the moment. Okay, we're good. Vibing. I'm back. My brain's back.